You see that guy pulling up in a brand new Range Rover, dressed head to toe in designer labels, flashing a Rolex that catches the sunlight just right. You assume he's made it, right? He's living the dream, swimming in success, probably has multiple properties and a fat investment portfolio. But here's the truth that nobody wants to admit. That same guy is 3 missed paychecks away from losing everything. In America, we've confused looking rich with being rich, and it's destroying more lives than we care to count. The loudest wealth is usually rented, leased, financed, or completely fake. And while everyone's busy keeping up appearances, they're quietly drowning in debt, stress, and a lifestyle they can't actually afford. This isn't just about bad choices or vanity. This is about a culture that's been engineered to keep you broke while making you feel successful. Walk into any major American city and you'll see the performance everywhere. People living in luxury apartments they can barely afford, driving cars that cost more than their annual salary, wearing clothes that required a credit card they'll be paying off for months. The Instagram feed looks immaculate, the lifestyle looks enviable, but behind the scenes there's financial chaos. Bank accounts running on fumes, credit scores plummeting, sleep lost over how to make the next payment. This isn't an accident or just poor financial planning. This is the result of decades of cultural conditioning that's taught us that our value as human beings is directly tied to what we can display to others. We've been sold a lie so convincing that millions of people sacrifice their actual financial security just to maintain an image that nobody even cares about as much as they think. The psychology behind this is deeper than simple vanity. From the moment we're old enough to understand media, we're bombarded with messages about success. Music videos show rappers throwing money in strip clubs, draped in jewelry, surrounded by luxury cars. Movies portray the good life as one of excess and visible consumption. Social media influencers create carefully curated feeds that make it seem like everyone's living better than you. Advertisements whisper in your ear constantly that you deserve this luxury item, that you've earned that upgrade, that real success looks like their product. Your brain starts associating happiness with acquisition. Your self-worth becomes tangled up in brand names and status symbols. Before you know it, you're not buying things because you need them or even want them. You're buying them because other people need to see you with them. But here's where it gets really insidious. The entire economic system in America is designed to make this performance easy. Credit cards arrive in your mailbox like clockwork, offering you spending power you haven't earned. Car dealerships don't ask if you can afford the monthly payment. They ask what monthly payment you want and then stretch the loan to make it happen. Buy now, pay later options let you walk out of stores with products you can't afford today, pushing the consequence into some vague future version of yourself. Luxury apartments offer just sign here leasing agreements with minimal scrutiny. The barrier to looking rich has never been lower, and that's by design. Entire industries profit from your willingness to spend money you don't have on things you don't need to impress people who aren't even paying attention. They've made it easier to go into debt than it is to build savings. The math is straightforward but brutal. The average American has about $400 in savings. $400! That's not a safety net. That's barely enough to cover a minor car repair. Meanwhile, the average car payment in America has crossed $600 per month. Credit card debt sits at over $1 trillion nationally. Student loans, medical bills, personal loans stack up like a house of cards waiting to collapse. But pull up to an upscale restaurant on a Friday night and the parking lot is full of $70,000 vehicles. Walk through any mall and you'll see people dropping hundreds on a single shopping trip. Scroll through social media and everyone's on vacation, at concerts, showing off their latest purchases. The disconnect between actual wealth and displayed wealth has never been wider, and most people are on the wrong side of that gap. The really tragic part is what this costs beyond just money. The stress of maintaining a lifestyle you can't afford seeps into everything. Relationships crumble under financial pressure. People stay in jobs they hate because they need the income to service their debt. Mental health deteriorates as the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck while trying to appear successful creates constant internal conflict. You can't invest in your actual future because every dollar is already spoken for, committed to payments on things that are actively depreciating in value. That luxury car loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot, but you're stuck paying for it for 6 years. Those designer clothes will be out of style next season, but the credit card bill remains. You're literally paying interest on items that are becoming worthless while missing out on building real wealth. And let's talk about real wealth for a moment, because it looks nothing like what most people imagine. Real wealth is quiet. It's boring. It's driving a paid-off Toyota while having $200,000 in investment accounts. It's living in a modest house in a decent neighborhood while your net worth grows every single month. It's wearing normal clothes from normal stores while your portfolio compounds. The actual millionaires in America, the people with genuine financial security, typically don't look like millionaires. Study after study confirms this. Most millionaires drive used cars. They live below their means. They invest the difference between what they earn and what they spend. They understand that wealth isn't about impressing strangers, it's about having options, security, and freedom. But that doesn't make for good Instagram content, does it? Nobody's getting likes for posting their brokerage statement showing consistent monthly contributions to index funds. The social pressure to perform wealth is overwhelming, and it starts younger than ever. Teenagers are now expected to have the latest iPhone, the right sneakers, the trending clothes. College students graduate and immediately feel pressure to get a nice apartment, a respectable car, to look like they've made something of themselves. Young professionals in their 20s and 30s feel like they're falling behind if they're not projecting success, even if that projection is built entirely on credit. The comparison game is relentless and brutal. You see your friend buy a new car, you feel like you need one too. Your coworker takes an expensive vacation, suddenly your staycation feels inadequate. Your neighbor renovates their kitchen, now yours looks dated and shameful. It's an endless treadmill of trying to keep up, and the only winners are the companies selling you the products and the banks collecting interest on your purchases. What makes this especially cruel is that the people who fall into this trap are often the ones who started from nothing and are desperately trying to prove they've made it. First-generation success stories feel immense pressure to show their family and community that they've achieved something. People who grew up poor often overcompensate by spending aggressively once they get access to money, trying to distance themselves from their past. Athletes and entertainers who suddenly come into money frequently go bankrupt because they confused income with wealth and spent accordingly. The psychological need to prove your worth through material display is the strongest in exactly the people who can least afford it. And the tragic irony is that true financial security, the thing that would actually give them lasting peace and stability, requires doing the exact opposite of what their instincts and social pressure are telling them to do.
The really successful people, the ones building generational wealth, understand a truth that flashy spenders never grasp. Assets that produce income are more valuable than assets that impress people. A rental property might not be as exciting as a luxury car, but it generates monthly cash flow. An investment portfolio might not get compliments at parties, but it compounds over time and provides genuine security. A small business might require years of grinding work in silence, but it can eventually provide freedom and wealth that no amount of designer purchases ever will. The wealthy invest in things that make them money. The broke invest in things that make them look wealthy. And American culture has perfected the art of convincing people that the latter is somehow the former, that conspicuous consumption is actually a form of success rather than a path to financial ruin. Consider how this plays out over a lifetime. Person A and Person B both make $70,000 a year. Person A drives a $50,000 luxury car on a loan, lives in an expensive apartment to maintain appearances, wears designer everything, takes flashy vacations they finance, and generally spends every dollar they make plus a little more on credit. Person B drives a $15,000 reliable used car they paid cash for, lives in a modest apartment well below their means, wears normal clothes, takes affordable vacations, and invests 30% of their income. After 10 years, Person A has negative net worth when you account for all their debts. They're stuck in the cycle, can't leave their job, has constant financial stress. Person B has built hundreds of thousands in assets, has complete financial flexibility, could retire early if they wanted, and sleeps soundly every night. Same income, completely different outcomes. The only difference is that person A cared about looking successful, while person B cared about being successful. The corporate world has figured out how to exploit this perfectly. They'll pay you just enough to afford the lifestyle they want you to aspire to, but never enough to actually achieve financial freedom. They keep you on the hamster wheel, running faster and faster, spending more and more, but never actually getting ahead. Your salary goes up, great, but so do your expenses, because now you feel entitled to a nicer car, a bigger apartment, fancier restaurants. You're making six figures, but somehow still living paycheck to paycheck because lifestyle inflation perfectly matches income growth. The system keeps you just comfortable enough that you don't revolt, but just uncomfortable enough that you keep working, keep spending, keep consuming. You're not building wealth, you're servicing debt and funding corporate profits while convincing yourself that this is what success looks like because you have the right stuff. And then there's the excuse-making that keeps people trapped. I work hard, I deserve to treat myself. Sure, but treating yourself shouldn't mean sabotaging your future. Life is short, you can't take it with you. True, but going broke trying to look rich isn't living, it's performing. I'll start saving when I make more money. Except that never happens because expenses always rise to meet income. Everyone has debt, it's normal. Normal doesn't mean good, and just because everyone's drowning doesn't mean you should jump in the pool. The rationalizations are endless, and they're all designed to make you feel better about decisions that are objectively harming your financial future. It's cognitive dissonance on a massive scale. People knowing they should do better, but finding creative ways to justify why they don't have to. Look at the data on how wealth is actually built in America. It's not lottery tickets, it's not sudden windfalls, it's not even high incomes necessarily. The consistent factors are living below your means, avoiding debt, and investing the difference over long periods of time. Boring, unsexy, not Instagram-worthy, but devastatingly effective. The people who retire with millions didn't get there by looking like millionaires in their 20s and 30s. They got there by looking average while their net worth quietly grew. They understood delayed gratification. They grasped compound interest. They recognized that today's sacrifice creates tomorrow's freedom. Meanwhile, the flashy spenders are still posting photos of their lifestyle while privately panicking about how to make next month's payments. The gap between appearance and reality has become a chasm, and most people are on the wrong side of it. Social media has accelerated this problem exponentially. Before Instagram and TikTok, you only had to keep up with the Joneses next door. Now you're competing with curated highlight reels from people all over the world, many of whom are also faking it or are in completely different financial situations. You see someone on vacation in Bali and don't realize they maxed out credit cards to get there. You see someone with a luxury watch and don't know they're renting a room in their parents' house. You see someone at an expensive restaurant and don't realize it's their first meal out in months, staged for content. Everyone's showing their best moments, their biggest purchases, their most impressive experiences. Nobody posts about their credit card debt, their declined transactions, their financial stress. So you're comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to everyone else's highlight reel, and it's making you feel inadequate and driving decisions that wreck your finances. The path out of this trap requires something that's become increasingly rare in American culture: genuine self-awareness and the courage to be different. You have to be willing to look broke while building wealth. You have to be okay with people thinking you're not doing as well as you actually are. You have to find self-worth internally rather than external validation. You have to stop caring what strangers think about your car, your clothes, your lifestyle. You have to embrace being boring, being frugal, being the person who says no to expensive outings, who drives the older car, who doesn't have the latest everything. This is extraordinarily difficult in a culture that's constantly screaming at you to consume, to upgrade, to display. But it's the only way to actually build the life that all that flashy spending is supposed to represent. Here's the ultimate irony that should wake everyone up. The temporary hit to your ego from driving a modest car or living in a normal apartment is nothing compared to the permanent damage of financial insecurity.
The momentary awkwardness of not having the latest luxury item is trivial compared to the constant anxiety of being one emergency away from financial catastrophe. The mild social pressure you might feel for not keeping up with consumer culture is meaningless compared to the soul-crushing stress of being trapped in debt for decades. Every single time you choose to look rich over being rich, you're trading real security for fake status. You're giving up actual freedom for perceived prestige. You're sacrificing your future for a present that isn't even real, just a performance that nobody cares about as much as you think they do. The flashy people will keep staying broke as long as American culture continues to reward appearance over substance, as long as we value what people show us over what they've actually built, as long as social media continues to incentivize performance over reality, as long as credit is easy and financial education is lacking. The system is designed to keep this cycle going because broke people who look rich are incredibly profitable for the right companies. But individuals can opt out. You can choose differently. You can decide that your financial security matters more than strangers' perceptions. You can build real wealth quietly while everyone else performs fake wealth loudly. It requires discipline, patience, and the willingness to be misunderstood. But the reward is actual freedom, genuine security, and a life built on substance rather than appearance. The loudest wealth in America is rented, leased, financed, and fundamentally fake. The real wealth is quiet, consistent, and built through decisions that look boring but create freedom. Every day you're making a choice between these two paths, whether you realize it or not. Every purchase, every financial decision, every time you choose to spend or save, you're either building security or performing success. And the gap between those two things is the difference between actual financial freedom and a lifetime of stress disguised as accomplishment. The question isn't whether you can afford to look rich. The question is whether you can afford not to actually be rich. And for most people currently choosing flash over substance, the answer is becoming devastatingly clear with every payment they struggle to make, every night they lose sleep over money, every opportunity they miss because they're financially trapped in a life they can't actually afford but refuse to stop performing.